Wade is guarding Bryant. Artest looking, gets it to Bryant. Bryant dribbling, has to put it up at the buzzer. Banks it in! He banks in the three! And the Lakers win the game!
Good morning, Syndicate members. What is going on, man? It's Wednesday. It's 9 a.m. That's right. That means we are live right here from Austin, Texas, in Syndicate Insurance Syndicate headquarters, I should say. My name's Tony Merwin. As always, this is my partner, the Tower of Power, the Master of Disaster, Lean Joe Green, the money-making machine.
Come on.
Please put your hands together for the king of Facebook groups, the king of trucking insurance, Mr. Joseph Campert.
My man, the Merwinator. What's going on, everybody? Happy winning on Wednesday. Thank y'all, as always, for tuning in. We appreciate you. Let us know in the comments. I know we had a few problems yesterday with StreamYard. Let us know in the comments that you can hear and see us. What's up, Lily? I see you, Sandra. What up, Sandra? Need to catch up with you. It's been a hot minute. Hope you're doing well. Tell the family I say hello. But good morning to everybody. Thank you for tuning in every single week. We've been running this show now for, I always forget I'm pretty sure it's like over 3 years, though. I mean, we've got, I think we're up to like 140 episodes, I think, actually published on YouTube. So thank everybody for tuning in throughout the years with us. Hopefully you are getting some value, which I would assume that's why you're still hopping on the show. So real quick, before we get going, shout out to Viva Virtual Solutions for being the main sponsor of the show. Shout out to Lily Davies. You guys see her in the comments, just dropping all the links. She helps us publish and edit and clip and create. And you should even just see some of the thumbnails that she was just putting in. We're working on just more viral content, things like that. So shout out to Lily, everything that you do here within the syndicate, and shout out to Rob Lopez for everything that you do for insurance agents with Viva Virtual Solutions. Thank you again for being the main sponsor of the show. Y'all know what time it is. Go ahead and start dropping them in the comments. You guys know what today is. Today is
Winning
the day.
on Wednesday.
It's winning on Wednesday, so start dropping those wins, weekly wins in the comments. We want to celebrate you. Drop those wins in the comments. Mr. Merwin, go ahead and kick us off. What you got, my man?
Dude, we had the highest production week we've ever had last week to close out AEP. Nearly 50 enrollments from our little team here. It was absolutely outstanding. I know there's people that do more than that, but hey, we're still small. We're still growing. So that was a big milestone and achievement for us.
Love it.
We crushed AEP. We did over 400% from previous year, this AEP. Smoking hot. My team is killing it. So super, super excited, super happy about what we accomplished during this AEP, and definitely looking forward to next year because we are going to grind it out and crush some things.
Love it. Love it. And I know you guys still have a strong IEP coming
OEP.
up. OEP. Okay.
IEPs all the time. We're always chasing
IEPs.
that.
Okay.
We're always chasing IEP.
Yeah,
That
I guess
is a
that everybody's got all right.
constant grind.
I tried, guys. At least I didn't say Medicaid. I used to say that. Man, my weekly win. Man, I was on the phone a freaking lot yesterday, and really the conversation. I'm not going to necessarily say where I'm going or what I'm doing, but I actually am going to Dallas probably either tomorrow night or super early Friday morning for a morning meeting, and then I'm coming back same day. But we're looking at doing some really big freaking stuff, and banks are involved and financial products are involved, and you guys have seen some of the stuff I'm doing on the mortgage-free life side. That stuff is involved, but we've got some pretty sick individuals that are getting in the same room in, we'll just say in Texas for Friday morning. So I'm really excited. I'm not going to disclose anything else, but it's a pretty freaking big win. So I'm excited. It's been a long time coming.
That's this Friday?
That is this Friday. I found out yesterday. I was like, well, looks like I'm on the road on Friday.
Well, all right.
So, yeah, that is definitely my weekly win. Well, y'all go ahead and drop them in the comments. Let me go ahead and pop over there, see what I got. Sandra, I was featured in an article that just came out. What article, Sandra? We got Mr. Barry Rudd. Hey, good to see you on here, Barry. It's been a minute since we've had you on the show, too. Or I think you might have been on Tony's show. Crushed a life insurance sales training presentation to 600 freaking agents.
Nice.
Okay.
Well done, sir.
I see you there, man. We'll give you an applause on that as well. Nice work. Well, I guess, Tony, if you want, man, go ahead and introduce our special guests. I'm excited to have them on. Y'all, we're going to talk a lot about just business partnerships, processes, tech stacks, really ultimately how to scale a company through strategic partnerships. You guys know that's something that we really hark on. We reiterate within the group. It's how me and Tony even came to form Syndicate Media and all the things that we've got coming out on that side of things. So we're excited to have them on. Tony, go ahead and introduce them. I know you know them a little bit better.
Absolutely, man. The first gentleman I met virtually, because back in the day we were both technically competitors of one another when we were both working the wholesale game. Him out of Phoenix, me here in Austin, Texas. And then I met him in Atlanta at the Medicare Supplement Conference, I think circa like 2017 or 18. That was the first time I got to meet him face to face. And then we have become partners and friends over the last few years. We now partner together on the Invictus Conference, which of course is the first and only full-blown Spanish-speaking insurance conference open to the public. We got that coming around here next April and May. Looking forward to that. But he's the creator of the DFY CRM. He's my good pal, Mr. Eric Fierro. And then he has recently partnered with Mr. Tim James from Swayze CRM, who I'm just getting to know, but have discovered pretty quickly in our short time chatting and getting to know each other that Tim is definitely one of those people that has a true love for this business and what he is doing. He's extremely compassionate about it and passionate about it, and very much has a servant mentality from what I've seen. So I'm super impressed by him, super happy to have these guys on the show. They have now partnered together in their CRM project, and I'm super excited about what they're bringing to the table because I use their tool, and I love their tool. As a matter of fact, they're the sponsor of the Tuesday training show with DFY CRM. So there they are, Mr. Eric Fierro, Tim James. Most of you guys know who Eric is, right? Unless you've been living under a rock. So Tim, if you don't mind, just lead us off. Take a moment to tell everybody a little bit about who you are and where you came from.
Sure, buddy. Thanks for having me on the show. So I got into this industry probably around 6 years ago, and I started off with starting a company with another person called Medicare Appointment Setters. And what we did was we staffed appointment setters from the Philippines to Medicare agents. And so from there, I started dabbling into go high level, and I've just been getting into marketing and doing all this stuff. And so we started Swayze CRM about a year ago. It skyrocketed. And then I had the pleasure of meeting Eric Fierro, and we decided we wanted to work together. And so that's what I do, marketing all day long, insurance agents, tech, marketing, and staffing overseas.
Love it.
Right on. Now, how did you guys meet? I mean, there's a rumor that y'all met on Grindr, but I don't think.
Well, making shit public. Hey,
It's funny how we joked backstage that we weren't going to say that, and then Tony just says it anyways.
That's what happens when you get too close with somebody.
I tell you.
They just. By the way, I wanted to put on my earmuffs to match you guys.
Very
you
sharp.
guys look so cute together as a little pair. So I'm just like, hey, I don't want to be left out. Sorry, Tim. Sorry, man.
That's okay.
That's how.
I'm used to it.
That's how it goes. So, yeah. So the way Tim and I met is pretty simple. In my space and how I operate the business, there wasn't that many people doing what I do the way I do it. So, I wanted to reach out to other people who were technically competitors, and just to be able to talk with them and say like, hey man, how are things going for you? Like, how do you handle these situations? And just have people to mastermind with. And when I got to meet Tim, I sent him a message. He responded. We jumped on a call, and we spent over an hour on that very first call. and quickly found out that we had a lot of things in common in how we approach business, how we approach customer service, our mentality towards, having servant mentalities towards the people that we're trying to help. And yeah, it was a lot of things that just aligned right off the bat. So much so that when we hung up that call, I remember going and walking over to my wife and saying, "Man, I just got off an amazing call." And he sends me a message and he's like, "Hey, man, I think we should talk again, maybe about partnerships. I don't know, something. It just everything clicks so well." And so we continued down that path of having conversations and what that would look like and what we could do together. And obviously, here we are. It obviously all worked out.
Right. I have a question for you on this. I'd like to actually I'm excited to hear your guys' response on this. So when you think of partnerships, right? And you said, dude, we were so in alignment. Like we had the same mission, we had the same servant mentality, like all these things that we're very similar. My most recent partnership with my dad before he exited last year, the reason we worked as partners is because, dude, we were completely opposite. Like, I mean, we just were different. But now, granted, his strengths were where they needed to be, and I hated doing it. And then I loved doing everything he hated to do. But maybe we were in alignment, maybe with the same company vision and goal, but we were as individuals, like we operated in we were just so different, right? What are y'all's thoughts on that when it comes to like, okay, polar opposites attract, right? Or is it more important to have everything in alignment when you enter into the partnership? I'm just curious to hear your thoughts on that.
You want to go first, Tim, or you want me to go first?
Yeah, well, I can say there's a lot of differences with me and Eric. Eric is like very good at executing things, right? Eric's also really good at ideas and vision and stuff, but he definitely has strengths that I don't have. And it shows. But I've been through a lot of bad partnerships, and I've had the exact opposite people, and it just ends up like clashing. You're just like fighting all the time. And so like, at least like when I was on the call with Eric, that initial call with him, I was like, it was great. It was like talking to myself. I was like, oh, like every single thing that he's talking about, I know exactly how he feels. I know exactly why he thinks this way, why he's doing it this way. And that's a really, really hard thing to find in the SaaS space. So I've partnered with people that don't have experience running a SaaS, right? And some of the stuff you learn is just stuff you're going to learn over time. There's no way to just verbally train someone on something. And so Eric has been around, I think, the longest in the space for running a high level SaaS. So he knows all the pitfalls. He knows exactly what an agent needs, why they need it, why this way is better, when you would step in, when you would not step in, and so we just had like perfect alignment in our vision, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Pardon my ignorance. And it's weird because I'm a user of a SaaS system. What the hell does that actually mean for anybody in our audience? What is SaaS?
I'm not gonna lie, I was gonna ask you to.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
No, you're good.
It just means software as a service. So like any tool that you're using to help with your business, right? So it could be a CRM, it could be something that helps with your business. That's all it is. So it's replacing the service that used to exist, right, with a software.
Got it. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And when you were running Swayze CRM before you guys hooked up, were you servicing insurance agents?
Yes.
Or were you in a different area? You were already working in the insurance space.
Yeah, it was kind of a crazy story because when I started Swayze, and we'll get into this a little bit more about how like you have to kiss a few frogs with partnerships. But I had just exited another partnership with another gentleman running a SaaS company, and it didn't work out at all. We couldn't stand each other. I mean, nice guy, but working together, we could not stand each other. And when I started Swayze, I didn't know what I was going to do. I basically had to start entirely over from scratch, and it was embarrassing. I was like, crap, man, I built up this client base with this other CRM, and now I've got to like say, hey, look, I'm doing something completely different. And I was really embarrassed to do it. And I almost quit the industry because I was like, I just can't see myself doing this again. And the way I started Swayze CRM is I linked up with a really good lead vendor who sold ACA leads. And so that's initially what it was. It was just a place for people to receive leads. And that's how I got through Christmas. I was nearly broke, right? And so we brought in a bunch of lead sales. I got in a bunch of users, and then I really started. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna really like take this CRM seriously, and I'm gonna make it the best experience that I can make. And I just started building like crazy. And I started building and expanding, and then I started bringing people directly into the software that were not necessarily interested in the leads. And then I started implementing my marketing services and stuff like that. So it was crazy. I literally went from one partnership, and I remember I was at the high level conference last year, and I remember I got into a big argument with my partner at the time, and I didn't even have enough money to fly home. Right. And I wanted to leave so bad. And I didn't win an award that year. I didn't talk to anyone. It was just so depressing. And so then I got back. We had to end the partnership. And I was like, I just decided to keep going. I had no other option. And then within a year's time, Swayze became one of the largest SaaS companies in the life and health space. And then I met Eric. And then we came back to that exact same conference, won 2 awards. It was like one of the best experiences of my life. We had such a great time. So like within a year's time, I went from going broke to being one of the largest SaaS companies, right?
Nice. How many, if you don't mind me asking, how many users was that?
With Swayze?
Yeah. When you were getting your awards, when you went from like, hey, I can barely fly home, then now I've grown it up. I'm just kind of curious, like how many users?
So Swayze didn't exist. There was 0.
Okay.
So Swayze had nothing. We literally started from 0. So with that other CRM that I was doing, like we maybe had like 30 or 40 people, something like that. And then when I started over with Swayze, I was able to bring some people, but now you lose people when you do a big transition like that.
Sure, of course.
Right.
And so like we were basically starting from square one. And so I had to figure out a way, and I was just in panic mode. I was just like, go, 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 go. And I was just doing everything I could, promoting myself, trying to get people in the door. And and it's been, Eric knows what it's like running a high level agency. It's like, you have to kind of be crazy to do it. You have to be a little crazy to do it because there's a lot of volatility in it. There's a lot of heavy competition in the space, right? So like
it's a lot of service work.
There's a lot
of service work. I think a lot of FMOs who try to step into this to add that to their repertoire as a value add to joining them learn the hard way that it's not just like giving them a tool and being like, hey, thanks for joining. Like in order to utilize it effectively and scale with it, like it takes a lot of effort, a lot of work, a lot of staff. There's people who obviously will try to shortcut it and do things that, but we just, that's one of the beauties of what Tim and I coming together has done is, our team is quite a good size now. I think we're at about 12 people that we have on our team, all in-house. And, we definitely have a huge focus on customer service, because ultimately I believe that with all the technology that keeps coming out, it means nothing if the service isn't there. The service is so necessary in order to get user engagement that, ignoring that so that you can focus on just some of the cool stuff, the technology, or even just selling the system on the fact that you have this cool technology. Right. At the end, you're not going to have a person stay with you for very long if that's your mantra. So I think that when I met Tim, with his story as incredible as it is, he had a lot of awesome things already in place that I had wanted to do. That understanding that if we came together, like that was like me being able to instantly have certain things I wanted as an offering to DFY members. And so Tim has, again, an amazing mind for creative. He also, he sees things that from the outside where he's just like, I see a need right here and I think we can execute it this way. And he learned through the hard way of failing a couple of times and then seeing what didn't work, knowing how to course correct and basically came up with some amazing strategies with how to deliver services that I hadn't seen in any other SaaS platform. So, it's a blessing to me. I for all the strengths that I had with DFY already, joining with Tim just really helped to make our platform, in my mind, one of the best, if not the best, in the market, doing what we do. That's I don't say that very often. You know me, Tony. Like I don't like to say I'm the best or anything like that. Like that's just never been my thing, but I do honestly in my heart feel that way.
Yeah, well, as a user, I certainly noticed the difference as soon as you guys joined forces, right?
Yeah.
Like I noticed the change because I'm in the platform all the time. So I saw immediately some of the updates, some of the upgrades, some of the things y'all were doing. I got super excited about it. I still haven't even dove into all of them yet, but certainly will, as things continue to develop for me. But were there very specific, maybe shortcomings that one of you had that you knew the other guy was picking up, right? Was there certain gaps that both of you are missing? Or like, oh, if we partner, then that gap gets solved because Eric's doing that and I'm not doing that, or Tim's doing that and I'm not doing that. So we see that immediate connection and need.
Yeah. I think, Tim spoke to it a little bit earlier that just with experience, since I've been doing it longer, I already had, I think, a more stable structure that we could build upon. And so there's a lot of things in just how to operate the platform that I was able to fill gaps in so that we can make sure that as we're continuing to grow, we don't stumble anymore because we have, stability. But on the creative side was one of the most exciting things for me because although I have had years and years of experience running ads and doing that on a call center level, generating leads for 30 agents for years, it's different when you have to run it for consumers, like as customers.
Mm-hmm.
And Tim had that experience, so he already had that onboarding process down pat. He had the onboarding process, the delivery, the management of it, like all that stuff. He already had creatives that he's been designing, and Tim is one of the best I've ever seen in terms of just the creative side of coming up with advertisements to get consumers to give us their information. It's definitely fun to see how his brain works and go through his creative process, which we've done. Like you guys got to realize, you two get to sit right next to each other. You're in the same office, so you see each other every day. Tim and I see each other every day. We spend hours just on Zoom, even if we're not talking to each other, just working and being able to say, hey, just so that we stay on Zoom, just so that we can talk to each other and throw ideas, and it's worked wonders. Like we've accomplished a lot in a short period of time because we're really dedicated to what we do. Mm-hmm. And so, I think that there's certain things on the just from the services standpoint that Tim had already implemented that I said I want that really bad, for DFY members, and we were able to execute that. And we had from the launch of it, we had lots of people who signed up and are getting services from us with Facebook ad management. Also with our we have an organization as well called A Setters, as Tim mentioned, where we basically help staff VAs and appointment setters. And so we also, just to give people a flavor of that, we can rent out our appointment setters because we have some strong appointment setters on our team locally. Mm-hmm. And we can rent those out to agents who want to be able to just get a flavor and see if they want to go ahead and pull the trigger with getting their own. So these are just great services that I was able to implement right away in DFY because of what Tim had built.
Right. I think, you said something. Well, and real quick, before I get there, I wanted to go back for anybody that, could kind of relate to some of Tim's story. I know that I could. I've recently had to, quote unquote, I'm very blessed in my start over, right? But ultimately I did kind of have to start over. And I'm recording a video about my story later this week, so you guys will be able to hear that whole story. But just type yes in the comments if you've ever had to start over, right? And it was scary, right? That, or, Tim, your point, man, sometimes it's kind of like embarrassing. It's like, man, like, Joe's this big stud, this, and this, and then it's like, I'm starting over, it's like, if you guys have ever been there, go ahead and just type a yes in the comments. Yeah. Tony's saying I've been there 4 times,
Me too.
Right. Tim's like saying I'm here. I'm the one that said it. But I also love what you said, Tim, to follow that up is I just kept going. So anybody that's maybe typing yes, maybe you're typing yes because you are literally starting over today or as you're watching this show. I don't care when you're watching it. Just keep going. What this industry is, and it's so funny. You guys we're talking about SaaS, right? And this, it's so, it's the exact same as insurance, right? You're sitting here talking about customer service, and it's like, well, guess what? Like selling SaaS is just like selling insurance, y'all. And don't get me wrong, you can have customer service, but the point is, just like how you were talking, Eric, like the IMOs who try to make it part of their repertoire, their arsenal, right? And then they don't really, maybe there's service there, but it's the key to it is exceptional service. How we make our money, especially on the Medicare, the health, or the PNC side, is returning users, right? Returning clients, renewals, right? That's why we're in this game. I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's so important. I don't care what you're doing, what you're selling. It comes back to that exceptional customer service, because people can also have like a horrible experience with customer service, which then ultimately makes them not a return user, right?
Yeah.
Eric, I wanted to ask you, so did you ever operate within the agency side of things, or you were more on the wholesale side and then kind of transition into DFY, or like kind of what breaks down? I don't know if I necessarily know that part of your story. I know I'm wholesaling, I'm generating leads, or what
Sure.
was that?
Okay. So yeah, I've been in the insurance business for 20 years now. So I started as an independent agent selling at kitchen tables. And the reason that I actually was able to kind of walk into the niche is because I had a buddy who was already in the business, and he said, "Hey, I know you've been looking for something different. I know you're miserable at your full-time job, and I have an opportunity, but we need to get you trained for 2 days. And then the reason I'm tapping your shoulder is because you speak Spanish, and the leads we have are for Spanish clientele. So if you can call them, set appointments, go to their home and present the plans and write them up, this is the kind of money you can make." And I said, "Okay, sure, let's give it a shot." Because at that point, I was pretty unhappy with what I was doing. I was a finance counselor at University of Phoenix, a finance manager. I was managing a team of 20 finance counselors. And I hated going to work every day. So when he gave me that opportunity, I remember every day at lunch, I would go into my office, close the door, and at lunchtime, I'd dial the leads. And I was trying to make 2 appointments for the end of the day so that I could leave work, go straight to those appointments, and then see if I can write business. And really quickly, I got to the point where I was making more money part-time selling insurance than I was full-time as a finance manager. And that's when I'm just like, I got to go all in. So that's how I started as an actual independent agent, going door to the people's kitchen tables and making sales. And then I had an opportunity to work with my best friend in with the FMO that he was working with. So then at that point, I would be recruiting agents across the country, training them up on the products, teaching them. And the one thing that was cool is that because I was out there selling, I was able to teach them the things that was working for me, because my boss basically said, "Hey, if I hire you, you could have Fridays off so that you can still continue selling, because I know that's something you really want to do." And so it didn't work out that way, but because we got so busy, I was recruiting all the time. What ended up happening is I just learned how to sell over the phone. So circa 2008 is when I really got heavy into selling over the phone, which just ended up being another great skill that helped me with building my first sales university in 2015. So with the 2015 hit, I was still working for the FMO, built out this sales university to give to my agents or anybody who was considering working with us, and saying, "Here you go, you can have this, train it up on it, and then I'll focus with you more one-on-one once you go through that." And so, yeah, we were growing, we did really well. And then I actually had worked out a deal with my boss saying, "Hey, when you retire," because he was getting ready to retire, and I was like, "When you retire, I want to be able to buy your agency from you. Like you're the last person I want to work for." I remember telling him that. I said, "Hey, you're the last person that I want to work for. Moving forward, I want to be on my own." So a great way to transition into that is that, I want to be able to buy your agency from you. And he said, "Yeah, we can do that." And so, what that's when Integrity popped up, right? And so Integrity popped up, and that's when they started doing their acquisitions. So this was back in 2017. Brian Adams had come down, and they were basically going through the process, reviewing everything, seeing how the staff worked, what they did, and they ended up loving the company, and they bought it. So I remember, I told my boss, I was like, they're giving you an amazing offer. There's no way I'm going to try to hold you back from that. Like I understand, but as I said, you were the last person I'm working for. So even though Integrity offered me an amazing deal, they offered me a very high salary, and they were offering me the stocks and all that stuff. I just said, "You know what, Brian? I want to go out on my own, man. I have that yearning inside me, and I've helped to build this business long enough that I feel like I want to go do something on my own." So So I did that. Fortunately, I at that time, because that same friend that brought me in the business was working for Heartland Financial Group. He was a CMO there, and he's like, "Dude, we're looking at opening call centers, and we'd love to partner with you so that we can open a call center in Arizona." So I said, "Yeah, dude, let's do that," because I had a lot of over the phone sales experience. I've had experience managing people. Let's go ahead and do that. So we opened up a call center in January of 2018, and went to work and did that for 3 years. And so that's where, so now as you can see, I've had independent agent experience. I've had FMO experience. I have call center experience. I ran that for 3 years. Did not like running a call center. That was not fun. And so when 2020 hit, I actually, I exited once we had to shut down and we had to, work from home. I just had the rest of my team start reporting to another manager in another Heartland call center. And I exited and decided that I wanted to go full in on doing what we do today with DFY. And so that's what's funny is that for a couple of years I was doing full-time just DFY, but I had a lot of agent experience, right? I've been through a lot, so I was able to still teach agents things that were working, things that I know work because I've had a proven formula. And then I had a good friend who I used to work with on the FMO side, Clarissa Gonzalez, who started using our system. We met at Medicare Con, hit it off again, and basically she hit me up one day and said, "Hey, would you consider doing a partnership?" And so we just kind of worked out terms of what that partnership would look like to have an agency together, and we executed that. And so we started writing a lot of business, and it's funny, we came full circle and became integrity partners. So I got to hang out with Brian Adams again, and that's where we're at today. So CDA Insurance Solutions, I own that with Clarissa Gonzalez. DFY I own with Tim James. And so basically CDA is a great proving grounds for what we try to teach agents in DFY. They are separate companies though. So I know that there's been rumors that DFY got bought by Integrity. That is not true. They were kept separate companies. And when we were, we partnered with Integrity, I made sure that DFY stayed as a separate entity. And so it still is to this day a separate entity. So you bring up.
So you said 2018 was the first time Brian Adams was in town. Was that
2017?
Correct? 2017. Okay. Well, for the sake of my example, I'm just going to say it was 2018. Is 6 years. So Tim, you brought it up earlier, right? Where like you had been in 6 years, and it was like, oh my gosh. And one of my notes was 6 years. A lot can change in 6 freaking years, right? And even Eric, 2 years. Okay, we'll call it 7 years, right? But ultimately, it's like, I mean, think about just even the different seat that you're sitting in literally 6 to 7 freaking years in this industry. And it remove the vertical or what you're selling within this industry. There's things that are always changing. But what I love to see is like, if you can stay ahead of that curve, right? Or maybe even just roll with the changes and adapt over time, right? It's like, dude, you'll just keep stepping up, keep just getting further and further down the road. And then it's funny. Then you look, I mean, Eric, you said 20 years. Tim, what's your total years? Is it 6 total years, or how long you been in?
I think it's been 6 total years.
6 total.
Or 5 or 6.
Well, we got Eric and Tony who are 20 plus. I'm 10 plus. We got almost 7 years, right? And it's like, oh my gosh, how much this industry has freaking changed, right? But the reason I'm bringing that up, change. One of the biggest changes, if not the biggest changes in this industry that is continuing to be the biggest change, is technology. My question to y'all is, I guess let's start here and then let's take it back to the user. How did y'all even learn how to do what you do? Because so many people, man, instead of going to, a DFY or any of the other, there's so many build outs out there. They're like, I'm just going to go to GHO and do it myself. Right. It's like, no, you're not. Right. Or it's going to take a team of 12 people and being full time on this for 2 freaking years and strategic partnerships in order to make this work. Like, I'm just curious because my brain does not work that way. Like when I look at some of those systems and the workflows and the triggers and the automations, I'm just like, oh, my brain just can't freaking compute this. How did y'all learn how to, Tim, we'll kick off with you. How did you learn how to create SaaS and sell SaaS?
Well, it's a funny story. So the very first partnership that I was in, the way I learned about Eric Fierro.
Oh my God.
I'm not going to say any names, but I was tasked to go into his system and figure out what he was doing. and take it back and then create another system. And I had no idea. Like, so when I first got into this industry, I didn't know anything about insurance. I knew very little about technology, right? I've always been a little tech savvy, and I've had a history of sales because of my dad's business, but I didn't know anything. And so I was blindly going into his system and like trying to figure out what he was doing. And then that partnership ended, and I wanted to start the staffing company. And so that staffing company, A-Setters, I just got my own high level, and then I started using that to be client facing, right? So my operations were completely built in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started reselling high level and building it out on my own. And I just learned by doing.
Yep.
I learned that's all I did all day long, every day. Was
how many things did you break?
Oh, all the time. I still break things to this day.
Yep.
You know, and you know, that's the thing is that system it's just it's a very complicated, robust system.
Extremely.
And they're constantly pushing out new updates. Things are constantly changing. The marketing landscape is changing, right? So it's a full-time job. In fact, it's probably it takes like a team of people to really do it the right way, to provide support, to innovate and create new things and stay current, to sell the software, you know, all those different components. I just learned by doing and breaking. And that's how I've always learned things. Like, I can't sit there and listen to someone teach me. I have to go in and break it myself. What about you, Eric?
Well, Eric, what is the difference? Like, when you first saw Go High Level, how mind blown were you? Because you were the one selling policies at a kitchen table to where now you're like, holy shit, look at this, dude. What is this?
Yeah, you know, the crazy thing is that when I built the university, because I did a lot of studying with studying materials from Russell Brunson, ClickFunnels, and that's where I really got into online digital marketing. And I've always had a liking for tech stuff, whether it be tech gadgets or softwares or whatever. So I've always just naturally liked that kind of stuff. So when I dove into ClickFunnels and building out online funnels and learning how to generate leads and learning how to do the perfect webinar, all that stuff was so fascinating to me, and I loved it. And I'm just like, man, I know how to translate this so that insurance agents can do it. And I remember I created my own first funnel to start generating leads. And what I did is I had I had a Turning 65 presentation. And I'll be honest, the way I did it, because I've always loved writing more MedSup than MedAdvantage. So I always slanted it. Like, we were like a 70-30. 70% of our business was MedSup, 30 was MA. And so the presentation was designed in a way where it would just kind of subconsciously start getting people to think more MedSup over Advantage, but it was still an educational training. So what I did is I wanted to break that into a 6-piece recording and turn that into my funnel. Like, okay, so I'm going to give you guys this 6-piece video series that you can watch in less than an hour and have a really good understanding of your Medicare options. I started generating leads, a lot of them, and I was originally going to just start giving them to our downline because I was still working for an FMO at the time. But then when I got to partner with Heartland to open up a call center, he's like, dude, you're an in-house lead generator, so you can generate leads for all our call centers, right? We had 4 at the time. So I was generating leads for everybody under the brand, and it was a lot of fun. So when I decided to go full-time into Go High Level, which was in 2020, it was like a godsend, because for the longest time, for 5 years, I had an online training platform, and I'm just like, I wish I had the tools like to make this as easy as possible. And I had seen some other tools, and I was actually introduced to Go High Level by a couple of marketing guys, Dialed In Marketing, Dan Farlow. And I remember talking with him, and I was like, Dan, this is amazing. He's like, yeah, dude, this is better than the other one you're using. You should check it out and go deeper into it. And so I did. I went deeper into it. And then I had all these ideas of how I wanted to integrate it with the Senior Sales University. And I remember telling him like all these ideas, and he's like, I don't know that you could do that, with just a normal account. You might have to get an agency account instead, so that you can execute a lot of that stuff. And so I was just like, yeah, well, give me your affiliate code so that I can give you credit, because they gave me, they introduced me to GHL. So I did that. I got the affiliate code, and I just basically started building out my own, and I went nuts. Like, I was putting in scripts. I was just thinking of all the different ways that I utilize this as an insurance agent to make life easier.
Mhm.
It was just, even at the time when it first came out, it was just so mind blowing. And to this day, like, yeah, I can't imagine stepping into today and just with all its capabilities, just being like, holy crap, it's almost to the point now where we dial it down. Like, we're just like, hey, don't pay attention to these features right now. Like,
Right.
these are the only ones you need to pay attention to in order to start get up and running.
Yeah, it's wild because if you're in that system and you're creating any of your own custom stuff at all, you will figure out pretty quickly if you mess around with it that there are probably a dozen different ways to get the result that you want. And then it's just now you have to figure out, well, which one of those paths to get to that result is going to be the simplest to maintain, the easiest for you, et cetera, et cetera. Because there's a whole bunch of ways that you can create the exact same result, whether you're doing through campaigns, workflows, this or that. Like, that's the part that I get occasionally lost in there when I'm doing some of my own engineering work.
Yeah.
Do you guys roadmap? Like, so for me, like when I'm really trying to break down like a process or a workflow, like I'll literally write it down. You were just saying, Eric, like, okay, I'm looking at this and like, what are all the different ways that I can use this as an insurance agent? So when you go to, we'll say when you go to create, is it, all right, here's end goal and then we back into that, right? And what's it going to take for us to get there? Or is it, let's start here and then we start building to get to whatever that is? How do you guys kind of break that down?
We do the reverse part, like, and it's fun because Tim loves using this tool called Excalidraw. And so anytime we come up with an idea, we put it on there and then we start breaking it down and we start drawing out little things of mapping how we get to ultimately what we want to do. Excalidraw.
Excalidraw, like a cloud-based kind of like whiteboard thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excalibur, but Excalidraw.
I like that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
When you have to think about, so it's a little bit different. If you're just in a sub account building your own operation, that's one thing, right? You still got to be mindful because you can kind of paint yourself into a corner a little bit, right? So there are a lot of little shortcuts you can do, right? With building workflows and stuff like that. But then you could hit a point where it's like, oh, this won't line up with the current thing that I'm trying to do. And now I got to go back and that's the worst. Going back into your old process that you've completely forgotten about, trying to figure out what you were doing and then alter it, right? So when we design out these like snapshots and these automations, we have to be really thorough and we have to really think about the long-term play and how it's going to fit in with everything. And that's the challenging part,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Especially too, once you have something that's been around for a while, then you have to think about, well, how will this integrate with the existing workflows that we already have, the existing funnels that we already have? Is there going to be something that clashes, or can it work together? Or do we need to have our team go through and button up something in order to make it work? Or do we need to make a training video? Like, there's definitely a lot of things to think through, which is why, we have to spend time going through that and mapping it. And even then, we sometimes find out the hard way. Oops, we missed that one.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been some situations where I've created accidental redundancies.
Yeah.
And then now my client is getting 3 messages from 3 different workflows that I didn't know were triggering each other. And it's conflicting, or it's saying this or saying that.
And you've been able to reach out to our help, right? Our help, our live chat stuff to be able to get that answered. And I think, again, all this to say, like, I think that going direct to go high level at this point it's a bad idea. Like, I think you need to work with people who know the ins and outs of this and know your industry as well. I know that there's a lot of advertisement going out there to go direct, but it's just like, I don't think it's a good idea.
Yeah, unless you have someone that can truly engineer it for you and really knows how to build that platform out and spend the time and energy that it takes to build it out, I don't see any reason to go direct either. Like, my ego tells me that I want to go direct just because I want to see my own logo on there. That's the only reason. And I feel like my agents would feel more comfortable if they log in and it's the full Avila platform. But I'm like, bullshit. 1, it's just going to increase my cost, and 2, it's going to increase my workload. Well, 2 things I can't afford right now.
Well, I think, it's funny. So on the property and casualty side, we operate. So you can't, we're talking about going direct. You can't basically go direct to carriers anymore. I mean, there's some maybe one-offs that you can get, but for the most part, you got to join somebody, right? But then it's ultimately, some people will look at that as, oh man, whatever. But for us, it's just kind of how it works. So I don't think there's necessarily that tone or that attitude towards that. But even like, for somebody who's maybe like, yeah, I'm just going to go high level. And it's like, one, either maybe there is a more expensive build out, but then you don't have to build, and they don't view it that way, where it's like, dude, you're going to save yourself so much time, so much energy, probably so much freaking money by just tapping into somebody that's already got this built, right?
Well, why reinvent the wheel?
I think another big issue is just a trust factor, because they know that, we would be able to see their data. And so I can't say that. And I can't say that everybody who has a GHL platform is trustworthy. I don't know everybody, and I've heard bad stories, but I can tell you that that's one of our strengths, is that I've been in the industry 20 years, and I've had people come up to me saying, dude, I really hesitated to get a DFY at first. I tried to dig up dirt on you. I tried really hard and I couldn't find any. So I'm joining DFY.
No, there's no dirt on Eric.
That's except for the grinder comment. I mean,
I knew you
kind of
Lily, edit that out. Just edit that out before you
man,
you say backstage doesn't always stay backstage.
Can you imagine? Like, people are going to start looking up. They're going to try to see if they can find me there.
Where's Eric's grinder account?
Real quick, y'all, as we kind of get close to the end of the show here, Eric, you said one word at the beginning. It's something that we put a lot of emphasis on here in the group. It's something that really, I mean, they've just changed me and Tony's life, and ultimately they've changed y'all's business. You brought up masterminds, right? And I think that's actually how you and Tim met, was like some mastermind or through an introduction or whatever. Masterminds are so freaking powerful. And remove the word, or what people are like, oh, another mastermind. Well, whatever, right? They are called masterminds for a freaking reason, right? And I know for a fact, masterminds, events, getting in those right rooms have just changed everything in my entire trajectory in this freaking industry. Tim, let's kick that to you. Just because you're a little bit newer, I think Eric's probably been in 1,000 masterminds. It's actually where I first saw, I don't know if we actually met at 8%, but it was when you were doing Sales University and you went live on your phone on the stage and then made it
an ad from stage.
And then turned it into an ad. It was freaking sick. But Tim, what are your thoughts like on the power behind masterminds and what they can do for an individual or even for an agency in this industry?
Well, they say that you are the sum of the people you surround yourself with, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can say with 100% confidence that like any success I have seen is because someone else before me has taken the time to talk with me and tell me and help me. And so I try to pass that on to agents that are trying to learn, marketing, whatever we're teaching or doing. And yeah, everyone, like, if you try to self-teach yourself things like on YouTube, you can get to a certain point, but most people are out there with an angle, right? And they're trying to get you into whatever they're pushing or selling. And same thing with SEO. You Google something, right? That's not actually optimized to get you to the best result. It's to the person that did the best job at writing a blog or building backlinks or whatever it is, right? So like being able to have peers and being able to network is 100%. I mean, I any success I have is because of that.
Yep.
Period.
Agreed. I think probably most of us would agree with that in this room. I mean, how like I said, when I opened the show, I knew who Eric was only virtually because we were connected on LinkedIn, I believe. And I knew of what he was doing there. So I knew of the FMO that he worked with because they were competitors of ours, but it was a friendly competition. I always viewed Eric as a pro, even though I'd never met him. And then I did meet him. And this is a testament to relationships. And I'm just going to ask you, Eric, like, how important have relationships played a part in your start overs and your trajectory to where you are now?
Yeah, there's a lot of people who will say the term that, like, relationship is everything, like relationship first in this business, right? Relationships are currency. There's not a lot of people who actually practice it, because when money's presented, a lot of times the relationship can get pushed aside pretty quickly for the money, and so they don't actually practice what they preach. I believe that, in my opinion, relationship is absolutely the number one priority that anybody should have in this industry. I've always tell people, be very cautious about trying to burn bridges, because you never know. You never know when you're going to need their help again. This is a small industry overall, especially with the big players.
Right.
So for me, I've left money on the table many a times because of relationship, and I prefer that. Like, I don't care. At the end of the day, I value the relationship so much more.
Yes.
I value the friendships. I value the camaraderie. I value the wisdom that I can get from a lot of people. Tony brings a lot of wisdom to the table that I value, and so I prefer that over money. The money comes eventually, right? And maybe we don't all grow to be cajillionaires, but we don't all need to be cajillionaires. Like that, you can live an incredibly great life, making $500,000 a year. So it's just like I just think that ultimately, if you really do value the relationship over everything else, then you need to put yourself in positions where you can spend time and build those relationships. I think that conferences are a great way to do that. But also just getting on Zooms or getting on phone calls and spending one-on-one time actually talking to them and getting to know them and getting to know what's important to them, because that's what friends do.
A mastermind, you don't have to buy a ticket to a mastermind. You can have a mastermind, right? Like on a Zoom, on a private call or whatever that is. I wanted to kind of piggyback off what you were saying there, Eric, when it comes to relationships and people not practicing what they preach, in this industry. And again, whether you're on the DFY SaaS side of things, whether you're selling property and casualty, whether you're selling Medicare, life, health, it doesn't matter. It applies to everybody. Reputation is everything. It really is. And your reputation precedes you. And so when you go out of your way to burn bridges, to screw people over, right? Or again, money is all that matters. And there is plenty of that's going around in this industry. We've seen it, right? It's your reputation is everything. That review, right? That one Google review that you get that just absolutely trashes you. They don't show all the other freaking badass reviews. They show that one-star review, and it's like, damn it, right? But it's so true because your reputation is what ultimately, I mean, it's so much of having success in this industry, in my opinion. And I'm very when you say don't burn the bridge, it's don't burn the bridges. I even think of some of my old bosses or my old, and we've, definitely had the disagreements or whatever, but it's I never burnt the bridge, right? Or if I overstepped a little bit, I call, even though maybe this is years later, we ain't done business together in freaking forever. It's I call just to make sure that, hey, we're good, right? And say thank you. And I'm always very grateful for where I come from as well. I think that's a big piece with relationships. People forget who helped them, right?
Yeah.
So then it's well, then I guess maybe then that's not really much of a relationship. But it is true. People will move pretty quick through this industry, and then they forget where they come from and the people that helped them get there. Right.
I think if anybody fools themselves into believing they're self-made, you're already in trouble, because I just don't believe in that. I believe that the only reason any of us are where we're at is because somebody is giving us an opportunity, and it may not be that it's a business partner giving you an opportunity. It's a client who's saying, okay, I'll choose to work with you over that other agent, right? I mean, somebody's always giving you opportunity, giving you a chance to prove yourself, or helping you along the way by staying with you instead of going somewhere else. All these little things that people don't really realize, it's that's a community of people who are helping you to get to where you ultimately are.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Absolutely. Well, y'all, as we kind of get ready to close out here, just wanted to give y'all just kind of the spotlight here to talk about DFY and how people can reach out. You guys, if you haven't seen their episode on Tuesday training, they actually brought up the system and went through some workflows and stuff like that. And that was, I believe, 2-3 weeks ago. So definitely check that out. That's out on YouTube. Lily's got all of our links posted in the comments. But Eric, Tim, maybe just give us a quick little overview, DFY, what it can do, and how agents can reach out.
Yeah, what sets you guys apart from some of the other white labelers that are out there?
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
So, well, I'll start and then I'll pass it off to Eric. You've got the two best minds running an agency in this space. So you've got two people dedicated to innovating, making sure that you have the best technology in place, the best automations, the best AI, right? All of these things. That's all we're doing all day long, is thinking about how do we get agents to become more successful using our system, because that's the greatest indicator of retention, right? Mm-hmm. So we have full-time support, not full-time. Was it 9 to 8? How long is our support? 9 to 8 every day. We have support teams sitting there that you can live chat with, that'll hop on Zooms with you if you need help. We have How big is our training library, Eric? I mean, you've got what, hundreds of hours in there?
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge.
So training, support, community, technology, automations, advertisement. We have appointment setters that will literally help dial your leads for you automatically. We have everything that an insurance agent would need to be successful. All the tools are there right at your feet.
Love it. Love it. What you got for us, Eric?
Man, Tim covered so much, but
damn, Tim, that's pretty sad. He's like, well, I'm just going to take everything.
I'm going to hand it off to Eric, but leave me with crumbs. But I think to piggyback off that, yeah, we always want to make sure that service is a priority. There's been so many times where, when you deal with larger organizations, there's a lot of times when the owners of it won't really step in to help out anymore. Tim and I still step in all the time. We'll jump in and we'll help out. We'll get on Zoom calls. We obviously delegate as much of that as possible to our team, because that's how you grow a company. So you have to delegate that and have other people start handling that kind of stuff so that Tim and I can focus on just innovation, which is one of the other things that we're always big in, is trying to focus on innovation. It's part of, I think we got a couple of, when we talk about our wins for the week, both of our wins that we're going to talk about have to do with innovation. And that's what I think we're one of the best at.
Awesome. What's the next big project that you're trying to accomplish with your CRM? Like, what is something you're working on now that's not available yet, but you're super excited about?
With your SaaS.
Yeah. It's
SaaS.
So I would say,
if you can talk about it.
Yeah, we can. And so, and I'll also chime in for my part. This is going to be part of our win, right? Our win for the week. With being able to do ad management for people for so long, we're able to kind of see like where things are falling through the cracks, right? And so, when it comes to generating your own leads, a lot of times where agents are going to fall short is that they're not working the leads properly. So I recently put out a video that the best ways to work Facebook leads, right? We call it the 10 Commandments, of working Facebook leads. We struggle a little bit with that title, but but you should watch it, right? So if anybody out there, it doesn't matter what niche you're in, like the 10 rules that we put in there are absolutely, you should try to true be following that. The thing that I would say we notice the most, though, is that agents don't work their leads properly. They don't call the proper amount of times. A lot of times, and in fact, statistically speaking, 86% of the time, agents will only dial their leads twice. When we know that they won't actually answer, I think 91% won't answer their leads or the calls until the 6th to 12th contact attempt. Right. We also know that if you can call a lead within the first 5 minutes of them filling out a form, that they are 100 times more likely you're 100 times more likely to get a hold of them. But so many agents fail in doing that, right? It's like you give them statistics like this and they still fail in doing that. So the next logical step is like, well, how do we remedy that? I think that AI outbound calling is going to probably be the next step. Again, with it being that as long as your opt-in has the correct language so that it allows for outbound AI to give a call, the technology is now at a place where it does an amazing job at being able to talk to the person, answer some questions, and book an appointment for you. And that's where I think that's basically what we're working on releasing. It's in beta right now, where it's being consistent enough at making the call and having the conversation and booking the appointment and then having that go into the contact record, which allows us to basically automate all of it from the point that the lead gets generated, comes into your CRM, automatically the outbound call goes out. So it's not even a 5-minute wait. The call goes out, the person answers. Once they answer, the AI books the appointment. The appointment then comes into you, notifies you. Like that's super exciting for us, because if we know that that's where the ball's getting dropped a lot, is that agents are not calling their leads the appropriate amount of times, and possibly we're going to remedy that with having an AI outbound agent making the calls for you.
You guys have a speed to lead service now, don't you? Built into DFY?
Yes, we do.
Explain that a little bit. Is that basically where you have a VA that's helping get that speed to lead quick, so that when they fill out a form and that lead comes in, then bang?
Yeah. So I'll let Tim speak to that and explain it more. But just the reason that's not something that everybody automatically gets. That's something you'd have to subscribe to. But yeah, go ahead, Tim. You can explain what that is.
Yeah. So our speed to lead program is we have appointment setters that we manage that are on a separate platform. And so basically their whole job is just when leads come in, right, to agents' sub accounts, if the agent doesn't dial the lead within the first 5 minutes, it will just route to that appointment setter. And that appointment setter will actually dial that lead and try to book an appointment on that agent's calendar, right? So if the agent actually, the preference is obviously if the agent can make the first call, that's the ideal situation, right? So if the agent actually places the first outbound call from within DFY, it'll stop it from going to our callers, right? They also have an option to manually override it. So if they're on the phone and they know that they're going to get to the lead in like 10 minutes and they don't want it to go to our team member, they can click on a little trigger link that gets texted to them to prevent it from going. So it's not just for when a lead is first when a lead is first generated. It's also for like missed call callbacks. So someone calls you, right, and you miss the call and you don't call them back within 5 minutes. The same principle applies. No shows for appointments. You drag a lead into the no show column of your pipeline, and our callers will automatically call and try to reschedule the appointment. So we have like those kind of critical moments. We have those in place, and it's all done with workflows going to a separate platform that then returns it back, if that makes sense.
Yeah. There's also, and not to push us overtime or anything, I want to be respectful of everybody, but I do have a follow-up on that. There is an automation or trigger, I guess, maybe, or automation sequence you can build where the system will automatically call that lead for you, right? If they submit a form that's got their phone number on it, you can put a wait period, it comes in, and then the system creates
it dials you first. And then so that
like a call bridge or something like that.
Yeah. So it's like they call it a manual call, but basically what it is, lead comes in, it'll call you, Tony, and it'll say, hey, you've got a new lead, press 1 to dial your lead, and then you can press it and dial it. I've wanted to implement that into our systems, but agents hate it. They get mad, which is crazy. Like it's like I'm getting called all the time. I'm like, well, how are your leads? Like I don't
getting leads.
All right. So it just depends on the agent. We get a wide variety of different agents with different ideas.
Can you stop sending me leads, please? Jeez.
Yeah, can you stop encouraging me to
make me money? Damn it!
God, I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to make money.
Absolutely, they're in the wrong business, man. Well, I love what you guys do because the truth is, agents as a collective group, we're idiots, especially when it comes to technology. Like our job is to use our mouth and close sales and service people, right, and mitigate risk. It's not to build SaaS or engineer that shit. I spend too much time in there sometimes doing things myself, and I realize like I just need to get Eric's team to fix this for me. So what you guys do is a huge thing, and you hit the nail on the head earlier when you said there are FMOs and other groups that are trying to or considering like purchasing platforms like this and just delivering it to the agent, but with no back-end service, right? And obviously you can't do that. So the fact that you guys have that now at a very high level, because I've used it and I've had several people like instantly I'm on the phone or I'm chatting or I'm on a Zoom with someone that's helping me walk through the fix that I need. So thank you for that. What else might you say that before we wrap up that sets you guys apart from other people that are doing the same thing?
I think you just said it.
Yeah. Well, I honestly don't even know like
anything beyond that you feel like really kind of sets the tone or sets you guys apart from other white labelers, like truthfully.
Yeah, I think that again, with what I had mentioned earlier about the outbound AI, I'm not sure that there's some people that are teaching it, but I'm not sure that there's other white label platforms that have implemented that yet because it's such a new technology. A lot of times the white labelers will wait for go high level to have a native version of the tool available. But Tim and I go out and we normally work with outside third-party tools to integrate with the platform. And so that's a big difference right there, because there's a lot of people who are like, I don't want to learn how to use this third-party tool and then figure out how to get it integrated. we're talking about that's what we do. Like we're always looking at third-party tools because they're still ahead. In fact, I feel a lot of times Go High Level is learning from those people who are using the other tools and integrating them. You've seen it with ad management tools. That's one of the new big things, right? Because for the longest time, there's been tools out there that allow you to templatize your ads and be able to offer them to your sub accounts and be able to get that up and running. Well, Go High Level finally brought one out of their own, but I don't honestly think it's as good as some of the third party guys, because the third party guys have been doing it longer. So they've gone through a lot of the bad stuff and made it a lot more efficient and better. And I see that in everything, even in outbound AI, inbound AI. There's still other tools that are not native that likely do it better because they've been doing it longer. They've gone through all the hiccups, right?
Makes sense.
So,
And they also have a unique experience because they're in the field.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
They understand
So
that business.
yeah, so I think that's one of the things that Tim and I do differently is that we're always looking at outside tools. And if we feel like it's a strong enough tool that it gets the job done or it fills a need, then we figure out how to integrate it with our system so that users can have access.
We spend so much money on software. Like it would make your head spin. It's not even funny. Like we've got a real problem with software, don't we, Eric?
Likewise,
you guys buying too much SaaS, dude?
Yeah, dude, we're like gambling addicts for like SaaS. Like we're just like this. We need that. We need that.
Yeah. But you look, at the end of the day, though, for us, like we have the right mentality, and I think it's a lot of agents need to step up and adopt that same mentality of understanding you have to invest in your business. And sometimes some tools are going to work, some tools are not going to work, but you have to have the willingness to do it, because when things hit, and again, another benefit of working with us is that you don't have to play so much like hit and miss, because we've already done it, and we're going to be like, hey, these tools are hitting, like this is actually producing results. So work with us. Get something through us. Like you only need to have these specific tools because this is all you need to be able to produce the result we're looking at. We do all the testing. We do all the testing for people and tell them, hey, this is exactly what's working.
Yep.
Testing ain't cheap.
No. How do agents reach out to you, man? Agents want to talk to you. They want to see the system. I assume they can give you a buzz, get a demo, something like that. What's the best way to reach out if somebody wants a demo of DFY?
We have just go to our website, www.dfycrm.com, and you'll see the option to watch a demo there. I think as some of these other features are coming out, we're going to redo the demo video to start showing off some of the other stuff that's come out. But that's where you can go and do that. You can also, once you sign up for the demo, you'll get messages from us. And if you have any additional questions, always feel free to reply to those messages, ask questions, and one of our team is going to help you out.
Awesome. Well, man, thank you guys for joining us on the show. It is a pleasure to have you back on. Thank you all so much. Thank you guys for tuning in as always. Of course, we do this every Wednesday at 9 a.m. We are here live from Austin, Texas with wonderful people like Mr. Fierro and Mr. Tim James here. So we always appreciate your viewing pleasure when you come in here. But don't forget, we're not just here. We're on YouTube. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram. We're on the shorts. If you like the bite-sized chunks of this material, make sure you check us out there. And then finally, don't forget, man, it is the peak of the week. We still got a few days left to close this week out. So close it out strong. Time to put the throttle down.
It is the peak of the week, y'all. My 2 cents is to keep going, right? As Tim said earlier, just keep going. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Tim. Everybody have an amazing rest of your week. Later, y'all.